Ethan, a top graduate from the School of Architecture, finds his dreams thwarted by a severe speech impediment that leaves him socially isolated and a target of ridicule. Unable to handle the pressures of public life, Ethan retreats into the solitary world of electronic design, where he can work from the safety of his home and communicate with clients solely through emails, never having to face anyone directly. Through social media, Ethan meets a woman named Sophie, who seems to understand his struggles. What Ethan doesn't know is that Sophie is married to one of the city's most powerful businessmen, Jonathan. Sophie conceals her marriage from Ethan, and as they communicate over time, their bond deepens. Ethan, fearful of being mocked for his speech impediment, avoids phone conversations, preferring to communicate through text messages. However, after weeks of growing closer, Ethan finally confesses his fears to Sophie, and they talk on the phone. To Ethan's relief, Sophie is kind and understanding, and their relationship intensifies. Their affair grows passionate, with Sophie often visiting Ethan at his apartment. But one day after Sophie leaves, Ethan finds a note in her purse that she accidentally left behind. The note is a reminder from Jonathan, her husband, about an upcoming anniversary dinner. Realizing that Sophie is married shatters Ethan, who is overcome with guilt and shame for having unknowingly been involved with a married woman. Ethan tries to end the relationship, but Sophie refuses to let go, becoming increasingly desperate and possessive. She insists that she loves him, threatening to harm herself if he leaves her. Ethan, struggling with his conscience, becomes more reclusive, his mental state deteriorating under the strain. In an attempt to move on, Ethan meets a woman named Emily. She is warm, understanding, and they share a common interest in design. Together, they start a successful company and eventually get married. Emily becomes pregnant, and for a while, Ethan's life seems to be on the mend. However, Sophie, unable to bear losing Ethan, reappears and threatens to destroy his new life. She demands that he return to her, warning that if he doesn't, she will kill his pregnant wife, Emily. Terrified for Emily's safety, Ethan reluctantly resumes his affair with Sophie, meeting her in secret while trying to protect his wife from the truth. Meanwhile, Jonathan, Sophie's husband, becomes suspicious of her behavior. He hires a private investigator who uncovers the affair. The discovery sends Jonathan into a cold, calculated rage, and he begins to plot a vicious revenge against both Ethan and Sophie.
If you like charming stories that touch the heart and inspire the mind, be sure to press the subscribe button and activate the bell to receive more wonderful tales.
Jonathan, a man known for his ruthlessness in business, was not one to forgive betrayal easily, especially when it involved his wife. When he discovers Sophie's affair with Ethan, he is consumed by a cold fury. Instead of confronting them directly, Jonathan meticulously crafts a plan that will devastate both Sophie and Ethan, ensuring they suffer for their deceit. Jonathan starts by manipulating Sophie, pretending to have forgiven her after learning about the affair. He convinces her that they can rebuild their marriage, all while secretly plotting his revenge. Sophie, desperate to believe that her husband still loves her, falls for the ruse, thinking that she can maintain her marriage while continuing her affair with Ethan in secret. Next, Jonathan targets Ethan's vulnerability. Knowing about Ethan's new business with Emily and her pregnancy, Jonathan begins a covert campaign to ruin Ethan's professional and personal life. He uses his vast resources to sabotage Ethan's business, causing clients to cancel contracts and suppliers to back out of deals. Ethan's business begins to crumble, and with it, his mental state deteriorates as he struggles to keep everything together. Jonathan's final act of vengeance is the most terrifying. He sends a cryptic message to Ethan, revealing that he knows everything about the affair and that there will be severe consequences. Panicked, Ethan tries to protect Emily by keeping her in the dark, but the stress becomes unbearable. One night, Jonathan lures Ethan and Sophie to a remote location under the pretense of discussing the affair and coming to a resolution. When they arrive, they find themselves trapped. Jonathan confronts them, revealing the depth of his knowledge and his disgust for their betrayal. He forces Sophie to admit her affair in front of Ethan, stripping away any illusion she had of maintaining her double life. Jonathan's revenge culminates in a horrific act. He forces Sophie and Ethan to make an impossible choice. He reveals that he has planted a bomb in Emily's car, set to go off unless they can stop it in time. Jonathan gives Ethan the car keys, but he makes it clear that by the time Ethan reaches Emily, it may be too late. Ethan, desperate and broken, rushes to save his wife, but the distance is too great. As he speeds towards her, he calls Emily, trying to warn her, but she doesn't understand the urgency. The bomb detonates just as Ethan arrives, killing Emily and their unborn child instantly. The explosion leaves Ethan shattered, his life destroyed by the very man he had unknowingly wronged. Back at the remote location, Jonathan turns to Sophie, who is paralyzed with fear and grief. Jonathan tells her that her punishment is to live with the knowledge that her actions led to this tragedy. He leaves her there, alone and broken, as he walks away, satisfied that his revenge has been exacted. The story ends with Ethan completely devastated, unable to live with the guilt of causing his wife's death. In a final act of despair, he takes his own life, leaving behind a note that reveals the true extent of Jonathan's revenge. Sophie, left to grapple with the aftermath, is consumed by guilt and despair, knowing that her actions destroyed not only her life but also the lives of those she cared about. The narrative closes on a somber note, with the haunting realization that the web of deceit they spun ultimately ensnared them all, leading to an end that no one could have foreseen.